Welcome to letter 9 of the Edith Letters.
Red carnations on the tablecloth, and a handwritten letter, oh that's fading art. It says, to my dearest.
I am so pumped to read you guys this letter. It is the longest letter yet. It is 6 pages, where the previous letter was the longest at 4. This letter is full of, he calls out who his rival is, and it also, he mentions something that I didn't know existed, and I have actually ordered. So I know you're thinking, what is going on? So let's go ahead and get this. December letter 17th, 1925. My sweetheart, well, here goes an answer to yours of the 15th. It is about time that I decided on this course. Well, I was intending to write this morning, but couldn't get at it. Okay, so we've addressed the fact that he'll put in French words that I can't pronounce. I'm really thrown with what's coming up. At first, I thought it was German, but I've done a little research. You know, I just like Googled the phrase and can't find it in French or like German. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'll insert a picture of it at the very end of this vlog so that you can read it yourself, so that you can see it in his own handwriting. So make sure that you stay for the outro music, because that's where you're going to see this. So right now it's not going to make sense. And oh, by the way, if this is your first time watching an Edith letter, please go back to at least the introduction and the first letter so that you get an idea of what's going on. I read these letters as he writes them, so sometimes it may seem like I messed up, I left out a word, I said the wrong word. I did not. I read it just as he wrote it. So if he left out a word, I left out a word. If he used the wrong word, I used the wrong word. So just so you know that fact, but go back and watch the others. Okay, back to it. I is finer den Iber. I'm sorry. Is hoping you am the same. Now, the same, he definitely did not write the same. I mean, he's saying I am fine, I guess, and hoping that you are fine, that you're the same. But he wrote D, that instead of the, which, I mean, yeah, okay. All right, especially after last night. What happened last night? Well, my conscience surely must have bothered me, although I didn't realize the fact. Why? Well, I had a very bad dream. I will have to start with the facts. It seems as though we were married, and up to a certain time were very happy, but then came a party of some kind, and very wealthy people, prominent people, were at this party. We got along all right until towards the end, you met a man who looked like a soldier. You then asked me to do something for you. Oh Lord, she's sending him away. Ugh. But when I got back, all my friends told me that you ran away with a person whom they called the student prince. Your mother seemed to be on my side. Well, that's a little different, because from all the previous letters, we kind of get the idea that she's not really fond of him. Also, it seems that Buzz and Olive were there, but they were, to my opinion, against me. After this, everything became rather hazy. I guess I was just awakening at that time, but the whole thing was a big mix-up anyway. After puzzling my brain for a while, I seemed to recognize who the prince was, and it was my honorable friend, Hank. That is about all I can remember, because I was just then coming into reality. Well, about that walk you were speaking of, it wasn't myself that was clever. It was just another way in which the saying, love will find a way, was proven. that is going to be proved some more, I hope, but I hope it will not be necessary for us to use that method very much. Well, so much for that. I think you understand what I mean. Now about that candy. We're back on the candy. If there were nothing else but that ability to make candy to you, why that alone would make me fall in love with you. But if you remember from the last letter, if I go like this, that means he's underlined it. But you yourself are so wonderful that my desire to have you is not to be trifled with. Your ears may have been burning a lot last week. Well, if that saying were true, then your ears would be burnt up by now, unless you are so used to it by now that you don't notice when they are burning. Because that is all I do besides eating and sleeping, and even then I don't forget you. In other words, I think of you 25 hours out of 24 hours. Well, but all the questions I asked you weren't half of what I would have liked to have asked. But as far as that goes, it is no use in asking you because you won't answer them anyway. Well, for once, you gave yourself away. When? Well, last night when you said that you loved me so much that you didn't have time to tell me how much. And now we start a new paragraph. He just leaves us with that. What does that mean, you don't have time to tell me how much? Okay, new paragraph. That was not my fault that I got on the team, and also it was not the fault of my bread basket that I didn't make any baskets. He plays basketball. I guess I lost my eye for the ring. I told you that I would not explain the meaning of the last part of my letter, but if you are a nice little girl, I may explain sooner than I expected. I will ask you here again to let me call you sweetheart, for I... Are y'all ready for this? Okay. Are you ready? Okay, hold on. Let me actually get the letter. I'm reading from the book that I transcribe the letters. And y'all, sorry, the Southern's coming out in me. You guys have to see this for yourself.
For I'm in love with you. He says it. I mean, he's signed his letters love before, but to say I'm in love with you?
Don't say you don't know, or maybe, or something like that. Why not be definite? Might as well, because I know you love me. Anyway, if only you love me as much as I do you, or more, I would always be satisfied, at least for those long 7 years. Let us keep the same kind of company for these 7 years to come as we have been keeping for this last year. So in the last letter, he mentioned their company, being in company. So back then, instead of like saying dating, or in my day in the 80s, we said going with. Who remembers that? Like, we were dating, but you normally said, oh, I'm going with so-and-so, which meant you were dating. So anyway, back then they would say being in company with. Okay, same kind of company for those 7 years to come as we have been keeping for this last year. If you will answer that request or grant it, you will do me a favor. In indirect questions as this last one, you usually try to dodge them. I wish you were more frank in some things than you are in others. Well, I'll say again that you must have been feeling good when you wrote that last letter. At least you seem to be more sentimental than usual in what you wrote and the way in which you wrote it. As far as my last letter is concerned, I want to say that it was a mess, but you don't want to admit it, do you? Does your love for me increase once in a while? Why? Because of, oh my gosh, here we go, me like just crucifying French. Petite plus émir. I am so wrong. I hope so, don't you? Don't worry, I'll insert what he actually wrote at the end. Did you get a new maid as yet? Well, I hope you do get one soon if you haven't. Yes, I really do hope so, because I think I can trust you to keep yourself out of all mischief. What has that got to do with the maid? Did she do something to get the last maid fired? Although you may have a temptation to write to rival Henry. Okay, so, in his last letter, he was talking about how like his friend Hank was kind of a rival, and now he's talking about there's a Henry that could be a rival. But I won't say anything about that. It wouldn't do any good anyway. Say to me that there is more chance for me than there is from him in your love. Please do. I'm going to remind you now that I would like to know what you said to your mom about me being there Wednesday night. I suppose you will be getting this either Friday p.m. or Saturday. Again, in other letters, he has asked, like, what did your mom say? You know, he's really concerned about what her mom, you know, thinks of him and has, and what she has to say about their relationship. Okay. I'll tell you what I would like to do for Saturday afternoon. I would like to make up a skating and toboggan party of about 2 or 3 couples. Not so bad. We may at that. That's cool. Now, that's another thing I kind of like about these letters, is because he's telling you what they do in their pastimes. So skating and toboggan. He wanted to get some couples together for that. You know, skating and toboggan party. Like, we don't say that. Let's get a toboggan party together. I just love it. Absolutely love it. I love to hear what they did back in those days. I'm going to take a swim when I get through with this, I think. I hope the water is hot, don't you? Okay, here's my favorite part. I have a new book. He's talking about a book. Batwing is the name of it. It was written by Sax Ramir. Now, he actually spells it wrong in his letter. I'll insert that too. The last name he spells wrong. Another good mystery. But speaking of mysteries, you are the most baffling one yet. I will close with that, and much love and more love. And by the way, when most of the time when he writes the word and, he uses the symbol. He doesn't spell out and. And still more love and much and most. And then we have 9 X's. Amir be with you. And then at the bottom of the page, he says, 1 for each minute that passes, and he has written 16 X's. 16 kisses. Okay, so, of course, the first thing I did when I finished writing, transcribing that, when I got to that part about that book, I looked the book up. Because, of course, I'd never heard of the book. I'd never heard of the author. But the author is a British novelist, kind of like an Edgar Allan Poe-esque writer. And he wrote mysteries. And this particular book that he had bought was a book that brought up voodoo and British officers, maybe some questionable women, vampires. So if you guys have been watching our this channel, our family vlogs, for a while, you know that I am a huge avid book reader. So much to the point that my son Lakeland's middle name is Reed because I'm an avid reader. I just spelled the name R-E-E-D. Yeah, it looks better written that way. But that is how he got his middle name. So the fact that here's this author I'd never heard of, a British novelist, I am all over it. I can't wait to get that book and read it. Oh, so excited about it. Okay, so I'm kind of stuck there. I did this video a little bit different and put in like my opinions and things as I was reading instead of waiting to the end. Originally, I wasn't going to do it like that. I was going to read the entire letter, not break it up. But I don't know. I kind of like this better because I can give you like my true emotions and feelings as I'm reading it. So comment below on which you prefer. I hope that you subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you know when the next letter is uploaded. There are many. And, we got to find out. Does something happen with any of the rivals? Yeah, what happens between him and his mother? Her mother, do they You know, does she ever like him? You know, we have to find out. And what happens with the relationship, because at some point these letters end. So subscribe and into the next letter.